I'm Danica Patrick, and I'm pretty intense.
Tell me about the clothing line, how you decide what goes on it, and like first off, why did you start, let's back up further. What does Death Saves mean?
Well, it means a few things, I guess. I think
Does it mean to you?
there's a bit of it there is an ode to old school gaming in that. So it's kind of, someone who is a gamer would see that and instantly recognize that term, but it's subversive in that.
What does it mean in the game?
When your character gets when somebody knocks you down to 0 hit points, all of your energy, you've been
Okay.
And once you reach 0 hit points, you go into a series of rolls to see if you live or die.
Okay.
And that's a reference to, number one. Number two, there is a bit of a tipping of the cap or in hopes of catharsis for the kids out there who, I knew many of them, whose parents and churches took their Dungeons and Dragons books, burnt them, took their Stephen King books, burnt them, took anything that had to do with magic or the occult or fantasy or Ozzy Osbourne or Black Sabbath and went and burned it and said that, Satan was reaching out when, if you listen to Ozzy's lyrics, Ozzy's talking about running away from the devil. He's talking about not giving into it. These games had nothing to do with anything revolving around Satan.
People fear what they don't understand, and in religion, you're in a small little box.
Yeah, there was this really shameful 60 Minutes interview with Ed Bradley back in the 80s where he coerced parents into admitting that their children killed themselves and killed other people because of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh my God.
There was never an apology.
Which wasn't true, obviously.
It's insane. The West, I play with some of the biggest celebrities, at my house in my home game, and none of us killed our neighborhood cats.
Who all have NDAs so that you don't disclose their names. So.
No, they're fine. But, but like the West Memphis Three, they were put into prison for murders that, if you look at the evidence, clearly they did not commit these murders, but because they wore all black and they listened to Metallica, they were put in jail as scapegoats for someone in the neighborhood who was murdering children. So, what do I think that's about? I don't know. Someone's excuse for bad parenting. So they're going to try to figure out some way, something to blame.
We project, what we're insecure about. So
this is actually an anti-Satan front page of an old newspaper that I am now, wearing ironically.
Very appropriate. I think perhaps it's been subliminal advertising that I didn't even really recognize, or maybe it's just really fitting for kind of the line of our conversation. I don't know.
Okay.
What is RPG?
Role-playing game.
Oh, role-playing game.
So this was
Kids
back in the
satanic role-playing game horror.
This is the old Satanic Panic.
Friday, July 24th, 1981. Experts warn occult games infecting minds of children.
Yeah, and this is the actual article. I think it took place. This is writing about Chicago and the fear.
Well, let's face it, Chicago's still killing a lot of people. In fact, I think they're leading the way, have been for a long time. So I'm not sure that they can say it was just the RPG.
Not a Bears fan, I take it?
Well, definitely not anymore, that's for sure. Still
water.
A Steelers fan, you?
Still?
I should have poured you straight vodka in there. Just a little floater maybe or something like that to be
water.
like, who do you cheer for again?
Yeah, that, a really good team.
So why did you do, what made you feel like the clothing line was something that was a good idea?
I'm into streetwear.
Okay.
And I have been. I always keep up with streetwear trends and Kicks and, a lot of some of the bigger brands, a lot of Japanese brands actually. And none of the Japanese brands make clothing or shoes big enough for me.
Yeah, well, we've covered that.
So that was a big impetus. I wanted
clothes for yourself.
And I wanted cool stuff that I could wear too. But then aside from that, a lot of streetwear generally skews either Japanese or hip hop.
Okay.
And they were borrowing from the well of heavy metal and really deep fantasy. But I saw it being done in a way that was not pure, I guess. They were kind of slapping skulls on things just because it was cool, but they didn't really know where that skull came from or what the origin of that design was, or that's actually a knockoff of this artist who painted this painting in the 60s, and then, you know, or this album cover from the 80s, and I know what they all are. So as a, you know, whatever, a fantasy heavy metal historian, I thought, well, somebody needs to go.
You just gave yourself a new title, didn't it? No one's ever had that title before.
That's an iconic.
I like it. I like it.
You know, I thought, well, I could do this right because I know, I know the progression, and somebody needed to go stick a flag in the ground and say, we're metal. Like, this is metal. This is fantasy. This is the real deal. And if you're a fan, great. And if you're not, we're still going to make stuff so badass that you're going to want to wear it. And so, you know, right out of the gate, I launched at Comic-Con. And
Good place for it.
Yeah, people started lining up at 5 a.m.
What?
For a 1 o'clock drop. Doors open at 1.
Were you there signing?
And yeah, I just said, hey, you know, doors open at 1. Everybody, come on out. And people started lining up at 5. I got there, and the lines were 3 blocks long in San Diego, which are huge city blocks. So it was 3 gigantic city blocks long.
Oh my gosh.
We sold out.
That had to feel so good.
Well, yeah, because I'm like, is anybody going to show up? Because we're not in the convention. I'm asking people to leave the convention, come outside, come to this store, line up
running
while
some bootleg deal outside Comic-Con.
all this other stuff is going on in there. I want you to come out here. And it was huge, and people went nuts. We sold out right away.
Wow.
We launched online the next day. All that sold out within days.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, okay, so we're onto something. There's a lot of people out there who have been waiting for something like this when there hadn't been. And a lot of the artists that I commission artists from around the world, in all kinds of different places that have different styles, different feels, and I match their talents with, you know, a certain brand or a certain character, or a certain idea, or something that comes out of my head. Let's do this.
Are you the creative director for the line?
I'm a creative director. Yeah. I mean,
Did you ever see yourself in that role?
No, not like, I never thought I'd get into streetwear or clothing. I think, like, you know, being a clothing designer, that's a little too daunting for,
Maybe that's not really exactly the perfect definition.
Dude on the football team.
But you still are. I mean, you're going to get that title.
I am now, and I'm cool with it. But I mean, I just think, like, back in the day, you know, I wasn't...
It's funny you are okay with being a Dungeons & Dragons guy, but not a clothing designer. It's interesting.
I know, it is, yeah.